The next process we're going to walk through is how to create a travel request. Per APL Section 4B, Section 2, an individual must have the approval of their supervisor for all travel prior to the travel dates. Approval must be completed in Concur. To get to the Concur homepage, click the Concur icon in the upper left corner of the screen. To create a new request, under the Quick taskbar, click the New button, and then click Start a Request. In the Request Name field, enter a description to name your request. That is, the conference name, your research project, etc. Please note, a red line on the left of a field's border indicates when a field is required to be completed. If these fields are left blank, your request cannot be submitted. In the Start Date field, enter your first date of travel by either typing the date in the field or clicking the calendar icon and selecting the date from the drop-down calendar. In the End Date field, enter the day you return from your trip by either typing the date in the field or clicking the calendar icon and selecting the date from the drop-down calendar. In the Purpose field, select the most appropriate reason for your trip. In the Travel Type field, select the appropriate type, either in-state, international, or out-of-state. The Business Unit, Department, and Fund fields auto-populate with information from your user settings. These fields can be edited at this time if needed. When you begin typing in the field, options begin to populate below. To enter the program code or project code, if you have one, begin typing in the field. Please note, the type to search by auto-populates to text. This is if you know the name of your program, i.e. Hannaford Teacher Renewal, rather than the actual digits. If you only know the digits, you can click on Code, or you can select the radio button for either, which allows you to search by either the name of your program or by the numbers. The same is for the project field as well. In the comment field, enter any information that will be helpful to your approver. Note the 5 W's, who, what, when, where, and why, can help you determine the information you should enter in the comment field. This will be information that will be helpful to people downstream in the approval process to know exactly what you're traveling for. Main destination city, again, is not a required field. It's highly encouraged that one is entered. And the last section on this page is the cash advance section. If you are requesting a cash advance, that request can be entered in the cash advance section of the request form. Please note, cash advances will be rare. The travel card should replace the need for cash advances. The next step is to click on the Expenses tab. This is where you'll enter the expense types you know will be incurred for travel. Please note, the list is fairly basic. This isn't to say that we don't expect taxi or tolls or additional expenses to be incurred. A request is simply a method to ask permission and provide a rough idea of how much the trip will cost. For example, I know I will be taking my personal car to this conference, so I'm going to click the mileage expense. I'm going to select the transaction date as the first date of travel. And I'm going to estimate the trip will be approximately 200 miles. So I'm going to use the basic standard rate of reimbursement, 44 cents per mile, to enter the amount I think I'm going to be requesting for reimbursement. Additionally, description and comment aren't required. Note the red bars on the fields are required fields, but a comment that might be helpful would be round trip expense estimate. When you're done filling out this expense, click the Save button. You'll note this expense is now populated on the left side of the screen, and amounts have started to populate as well. I also know for this trip I'm going to have a hotel expense. Going to just by myself, so I'm clicking Hotel Individual. Again, I'm selecting the first date of my travel, and again, this is an estimate. The amount can be estimated based on past trips or based on a booking quote. Either way, since this is a request, this amount is an estimate. It's not an exact reflection of what you'll actually be incurring as an expense. Again, you can add a description or a comment to indicate perhaps how you came up with this estimate. And click Save. Also note, because this is a request, it's used as a budgetary tool and a tool to gain permission for traveling. This isn't to say if you create a request for $800 and you incur expenses of $900 on your trip, that you can't get reimbursed for that amount. A request is just a basic tool used to say whether or not your trip will be $500 or $5,000. You're not beholden to the amount that's entered on the request. Continue adding expenses that you know you will likely incur on your trip. For example, travel meal expense. Per the APL, meal expenses should be reasonable. The university will reimburse travelers for actual meal expenses up to a maximum limit of $46 per day per person. You can use that as a rate to which you think you might incur expenses for meals. I'm going to select the first day of my travel, and I'm just going to use the $46 per day as a basic guide to how much I think I might incur. Again, this is an estimate. We are only reimbursing for actual expenses incurred. You won't automatically get $46 for the day. You can also add in the comments, perhaps, as to how you came up with this estimate. Once you've entered all the information for this expense type, again, click the Save button. Continue adding expenses that you know you might incur for this trip. Once you have added all your expenses, click the Submit button. You'll get a notification that your report has been successfully submitted, and you'll be brought to the Active Requests page. This is where you'll see the request you just submitted and its status. As you can see, it's been submitted and it's now pending approval with my manager.